Perception. The external stimuli falls on the sense receptors of the sensory organs like eyes, nose, ear, tongue and skin. Through the sensory nerves it travels to the brain after being converted to the electrical and chemical signals. Then our brain interprets these external stimuli, gives it a meaning and stores the information data into the memory slots. Thus the perception is formed and registered or stored into the memory. As we all know, there are few senses by which external world enters in us. They are see, hear, smell, taste and touch. The stimulus travels through light waves, falls at retina of our eyes, enabling us to see. The stimulus travels through sound waves and hits our eardrums of our ears, enabling us to hear. The stimulus travels through chemical molecules and enters the upper part of our nose where olfactory cells are present, enabling us to smell. Similarly, the taste buds present at the tongue enable us to taste. The stimulus hits us through pressure and temperature at the dermis of our skin, enabling us to sense touch. All these five senses act as inputs to our body. The sense organs involved which act as entrance doors are eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Senses are neither good nor bad, they are just neutral. It is when these vibrations are interpreted by the brain that senses convert into feelings. Feelings can be good, bad or nil. Usually it is either good or bad. A good feeling gets a pull from the mind and it is put into the like slots of memory brain cells. A bad feeling gets a push from the mind and it is put into the dislike slots of memory brain cells. Decider of good or bad is the perception and it depends upon pleasure and pain to the body. Senses are doing their job. It's the feelings which attract or repel. This attraction and repel of mind makes the person dance to the whims and fancies of outer. This is how the outer affects the inner. If we have no control of mind to the push and pull of sensations-led feelings, our life will be in mess. In the environment, every moment something new is happening, and this outside happening affects our inner. You cannot control outer. You can only monitor the inner by seeing its reactions to the outer, and if you fail to monitor the inner, then your remote control is lying outside. You will always remain disturbed from inside. The process of senses is pure, automatic and well defined. The mischief occurs after the interpretation of sensations. Our reactions make the dilemma. Then we construct our own cage and look for how to get out of this cage. We are caught in an autoimmune disease and look for its cure. As it has been said, prevention is better than cure. If by somehow we can prevent this making of cage, then the question of how to get out of this cage does not arise. Important is to see the process of formation of cage, not after the cage is built then fighting with that cage. You have to be extra vigilant to see the caging process. If you are vigilant, the mind turbulence will fade away and entire process can be seen. At the time of turbulence, if you look for how from the mind, you can never get the answer, for it is the flowing in ego mode. A mode of non-peace. When turbulence fades away, mind becomes peaceful, and once the mind becomes silent, Then you can see the sensation, perception, feeling, memory, reaction process. It is interesting to note that when a particular stimulus occurs again, then in that case the particular memory slot is updated or add on. Hence the perception keeps on updating and it is a continuous process. Once the particular perception is updated, then in presence of particular stimulus, the already created perception automatically reacts. In order to get the same pleasure repeated, perception gives rise to desire of the more to get the same sensation. Let us take an example. A beautiful girl touched you for the first time. A beautiful girl was the stimuli. It entered the brain through touch. The pressure and temperature at the skin through sensory nerves traveled to the brain after being converted to the electrical and chemical signals. These signals were stored in the memory slot in form of microtubes. They were interpreted and labeled by the brain. Now you experience the touch of a beautiful girl again. Then what will happen? Through the same aforementioned process, the particular memory slots or perception will be updated. This time the perception will give rise to demand for pleasure and the concerned output terminals will be activated. That is hands, tongue, legs, mouth, genital and anus. Now you experience the touch of a beautiful girl again. Then what will happen? There will be the same process of perception and this perception will give rise to pleasure. From the thinker will be the urge for further pleasure and the process will go on. There will be always a demand for more in order to get more pleasure. The same is valid for the other stimuli. After this, a vicious closed loop is formed in which there is stimuli, sensation, perception, body feeling, memory, thought, imagination, feeling, desire. Since mind is always after pleasure, thus pleasure becomes the aim. This urge for pleasure drives the whole process. Then there is urging for more and more pleasure. Any glitch in the process makes a person irritated, followed by negative emotion of anger, fear, etc., etc. So long pleasure is derived from this process, there is no problem, everything is fine, but the opposite creates havoc in the life as the whole virtual world of this pleasure is our own creation. We have developed this sense object world and when we get caught in it, we try to come out by evading the truth, but all our efforts are in vain. We'll end up in the trap because the maker of the trap is now finding how to get out of this trap. We can get out of this trap once the making of the trap is understood. For this, mind have to be in vigilance mode. In the kitchen, if we touch the utensil in which milk is being boiled, we will have a burning sensation. Similarly, when we take out ice from the freezer, we have cooling sensation. In other words, when an external stimulus hits the sense receptors of the sense organs, that is eyes, ear, nose, tongue and skin, a sensation is born. This sensation gives rise to good or bad feeling and is then interpreted and stored in brain cells of memory. This feeling is present so long the external stimulus is present. This is the case of external feelings. Now we discuss the internal feelings. When we see a beautiful girl, the body of girl becomes an external stimuli. It gives rise to sensation. The already stored information about the girl in the brain cells get activated. It gives rise to thought. Thought goes in imagination, and by thinking about the girl by the thinker, feeling is generated. This generation of feeling by the thinking is called the internal feeling. In aforementioned, feeling was generated before the thought, and in the current case, the feeling was generated after the thought. This is the difference between the external feeling and the internal feeling. However, in both cases, the source was external stimuli. The association of feeling with ego is termed as emotion. A feeling can subside once the external stimulus is not there, but emotions can live in mind for very long time. In 1984, Ramesh insulted me, and I still remember. This is the emotion of hate. To get out of emotions is not easy. Ego is hurt, that's why this emotion of hate. The stronger is the ego, the stronger is the hurt, and stronger is the emotion of hate. Either you forgive and forget, or you punish yourself and remember. The person about whom we have emotions of hate may not be remembering when he insulted you. He must have forgotten this and must be enjoying his life, but we may be still holding the insult in our mind. All negative emotions not only kill our precious lifetime but also make us more prone for future encounter with these types of emotions. Negative emotions like hate, revenge, fear, anger drain out our vital energy. The end result of these emotions is always bad. Not only it affects our life but also the life of our family members too, with whom we live. It has been seen in families where there had been strong negative emotions, the same kind of influences are transferred to their children even. Majority of criminals suffer from strong negative emotions. Jails are full of those prisoners who under the rage of anger killed the victim. All of those who had strong emotion of hate and revenge. Thus, one should be very sensitive to these negative emotions. If you are one of them, then you must consult some good psychiatrist. Majority population of world do not consider psychiatrist as a doctor. They think that having negative emotions is common, but friends, it is never late for any positive work. Remember, by breeding negative emotions inside you, you are not only disturbing yourself but also your near and dear ones. Thus, not for your sake but for the sake of others, you must erase the negative emotions as soon as possible. Prayer, meditation, and discussing the problem with your friends will help.